Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Sportslook, the sports television program for the High Plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and just like Warren G. Harding in 1920, I promised you a return to normalcy. We're going to bring back High School Spotlight, courtesy of Kiki and Scott. I'm also going to have an interview with the coach and two players from Greyhound softball. We'll have Jeff Cavalunas from Greyhound track and field. I'll finish up with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Since we're going to have softball on, I figure I'll just talk baseball, and I'm really happy to talk about Greyhound baseball tonight because they did really well against University of Texas Permian Basin. They won game one of their four-game series 10-6. They did lose game two, but then they swept a doubleheader on Sunday 7-3 and 7-3. That's the first time the Greyhound baseball team has won a series in forever. So good on you, Greyhound baseball. Well, that is going to wrap up our Eastern recap, so we'll clear this out and I'll bring in some young ladies representing Eastern softball right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and we bring to the set of Sportslook a person who's been here before, Kira Zeider, the head coach of Greyhound softball, but you were nice enough to bring along two of your players, Tava Boone and Tiana Boone. And ladies, welcome to Sportslook.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate you having us on today.
Well, Coach, I would love to have you on anyway, but especially tonight because something pretty cool is going to happen tomorrow.
That's right. We're going to be playing our first softball games at home for this year, and I believe it's been about a year since Eastern's been able to host a home athletic sporting event. So tomorrow, 3 and 5 o'clock for San Angelo State, so we're looking forward to it. Well, I wanted to get that news out because sometimes I get so excited talking to guests, I forget. Oh, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. So, and one of the best things about Eastern softball, the cost is pretty reasonable. Oh, absolutely. We are allowing fans and people can come and watch the game, and so I know the team's very excited about being able to have home games this spring. Well, let's introduce your players here, and Tava, we'll start out with you. Where are you from, and what was the process that got you to play softball for Coach Zeider?
I'm from Gilbert, Arizona. I'm a sophomore here, and actually we kind of just reached out to her. My mom was helping me with the recruiting process, and we reached out, and she offered us to come for a visit, and we came out, both of us together, and both fell in love with it here. And we wanted to go to school together. We're twins, so we decided this was the best bet for us. And when we walked on the campus, it felt like home. It wasn't too far, it wasn't too close to home, but when we got on the campus, it felt like, oh, we need to be here. So. And did you need any convincing, or were you on board with your sister's decision?
Yeah, I was on board with my sister. We came here, we did kind of like a tryout, you could say, and then she offered us and was like, go home, because it was just me and my mom and my sister. So my dad didn't come. She's like, go home, talk to your dad. And I think we drove home, talked to my dad, and he was like, you guys just seem like you have everything positive to say about the school. He's like, if you guys want to do it, then do it. And so I think it was like 12 hours.
12 hours.
12 hours.
Yeah. It's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to think that Eastern has some charm. And,
yes.
And especially we're so pleased that we've got Coach Zeider. And Coach, let's look back a year ago. You ladies last year were definitely playing some great softball. You had just swept WT, and then came the news that that was the last softball you were going to. What was going through your head at that time? There was definitely a lot going through our head. We were feeling really good about how everything was going within the program, playing really solid softball. Team chemistry was really great, and I don't think you ever fully prepared for that news at that time, and so we handled it. We felt like the best we could, and that we're definitely excited that we're back now and being able to be back together as a program and getting to play softball again. A lot of them have played softball their whole lives, and so it's just really nice to be able to get to see them be able to get to play that sport again that they love. Well, Tiana, if I were an opposing coach and I was putting together a scouting report on you, what do you think that scouting report would say about you as a player?
I think probably that I'm aggressive and I'm a power hitter at the plate. So they probably are not going to pitch anything close enough for me to be able to hit it over the fence. So.
There you go. And Dave, I'll ask you the same question. What's your MO?
Probably that I'm a spin pitcher more than speed, and I can get them on my spin, and I'm confident when I go up there, and I know that I can get the job done. So.
And who have been the big influences on you and helping you become not only the player that you are, but the young lady that you are?
Oh, my mom, 100%. Both of my parents, but my mom was there, like traveled with us every weekend, did everything. She helped us get recruited. She did everything that she possibly can do to get us to this point.
And Tiana, I'll ask you the same. You may have the same answer, but is there anybody else you'd like to throw into the mix?
Yeah, our old coach EB last year, Erica Burke, she definitely did a lot for me, and I owe a lot to her. She was the person that when I came in here to Eastern kind of changed my swing, and I didn't hit a ball for like 4 months, and I was like, wow, like what am I doing? But I worked really, really hard on the way she changed my swing, and looking back on it, I don't know if I would be where I'm at hitting-wise if it wasn't for her. So I owe a lot to her.
Yeah, she was a pretty good person
Yes.
up at the plate. So.
Yes.
Well, Tiana, comparing last year's team to this year's team, what are the similarities between the two squads, and what's different from last year to this year?
The big difference is number-wise. Last year we were like 30, 29 girls, something like that. This year we're at 19, so it's kind of like, it doesn't seem that big, but it's definitely a big adjustment to kind of not having like the depth we had last year. I think the big similarity is like we're mostly sophomores. Like this team is sophomore built, so we've all already played together and we know how each other play and everything like that. So we didn't really have to like adjust to a lot of new players. I think we have 2 freshmen and a JUCO transfer and then a senior this year. So I think that's like the biggest similarity is that we've already kind of worked together and know how each other play on that field.
Well, Dave, I'll ask you the same question from your perspective out there in the circle in the middle of the middle of the infield. What's the big difference for you, and what's the big similarity?
The big difference is that we have girls all over now. We have girls stepping up to play different positions that they've never played before, and they're doing a great job, so that's a little different. But the same is that our energy on the field, like we all love playing together and just like happy to be back on the field. It got taken away so quick, so I think the similarity is that we just all have the same love for the game and want to be out there and play our sport.
Well, obviously you are a good athlete, but here at Eastern New Mexico University we have student athletes, and so let's talk about that part of the equation. What are you studying, and what do you hope to do with your life?
I'm majoring in psychology with a minor in social work. I'm hoping to become a child psychologist where I can go and get my doctorate so I can go into hospitals and work with kids and their mental health and really just give back to the children that really need it.
And unfortunately, with what our nation has had to go through, there are going to be children moving forward that are going to need good counseling. So. And I'll ask you the same question, Tiana. What are you studying, and what do you hope to do?
I just changed my major from business to social work. I'm kind of still in the process of trying to figure out exactly what I want to do in life or like what I want to go into, but if I finish with a social work, I most likely will go into foster care, something like that, taking care of the foster care system, something with that.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we'll turn back over to you, and you said that there was good news regarding the fact that tomorrow you're going to get to play at home, but I understand not a very long turnaround before you're playing again.
Right, well, so tomorrow at 3 and 5, and then we'll play on Sunday versus Lubbock Christian at 11 and 1.
And how is the Lone Star Conference shaping up? Is it pretty much what you thought it was going to be, or are there some teams that have been surprises?
So far, it is still early, but from what I've seen so far, it's tending to shape up a little how I was expecting it to in terms of the conference as a whole. The conference has kind of had a top and a bottom to the conference, and so we are definitely wanting to be in that top echelon of the conference by the end of the year. That's our goal.
Well, Tiana, I'll come back to you and I'll ask you if there's one thing that you hope people who come out and watch you on Friday or watch you on Sunday, if there's one thing that they walk away from the softball field thinking about Greyhound softball, what do you hope is their takeaway?
I want people to know that we want to be there, that we walk on that field and we want all to be there. We walk on that field, we're confident we can do it even if people don't believe in us. And so I think that's one thing I want people to walk away is we may be tiny, but we can do it if we put our minds to it.
And Dave, I'll ask you the same question. What do you hope that people will take away?
Just the love of the game that all of us have. You know, the chemistry that we have on the field, it shows on and off the field. We all love the sport, and I hope they take away that we love to be a Greyhound and play softball here, but we also just love the sport of softball.
And Coach, I'll give you a chance. I mean, if that's good, that's good. But if there's one more thing that you hope people will carry away from, what would it be?
Yeah, I think what they both said was great, and just that we play hard and play aggressive, and to, just leave all of that energy and effort out on the field on game day. Leave nothing left in the tank at the end of the day.
Well, ladies, I am so excited that you're going to get a chance to play. Best of luck tomorrow, best of luck on Sunday. And ladies, I wish you the best of luck with your careers moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up our first interview segment. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear the set and we're going to cue up a high school spotlight right now.
Welcome back, sports fans, to the latest edition of High School Spotlight. We're your new hosts. I'm Scott Haas.
And I'm Kitana Sapinga.
And today we're going to be going over the matchup between the Moriarty Pintos and the Portales Rams.
Yeah, Scott, so unfortunately the game was pretty low scoring, but there was still a lot of action on the field. So let's go ahead and get into those highlights.
We weren't the only ones excited for sports to be back in Portales, as we see fans getting hyped up before game time.
All right, Moriarty begins the second quarter trying to establish their run game early on with an inside handoff for number 24, Malcolm Denome.
On this next play, we can see senior quarterback Brian Wright launch a pass to number 23, Josiah Spicer. As the ball is tipped, Spicer makes an athletic grab to secure the catch.
With the Pintos threatening to score, the Rams defense stepped up big to stop this drive from quarterback Brian Wright as two defenders rush in to stop him just short of the goal line.
Once again, the Rams are showing their tenacity on the defensive side of the ball as number 58, Braden Mignard, makes the tackle on this play.
With the Rams back on offense, senior quarterback number 15, Baylor Diaz, shows a glimpse of another number 15, Patrick Mahomes, as he races down the sideline for a huge gain before stepping out of bounds.
Quarterback Baylor Diaz shows his pocket awareness as the pocket begins to collapse. Diaz cuts his way up the field and gets a nice gain of about 10 yards before being stopped just shy of the 40-yard line.
The Pintos quickly regained focus on defense by forcing a fumble on this run by junior running back Ethan Conroe with Moriarty defender Caden Dunn.
On Moriarty's ensuing drive, they stick to the run game as a short rush up the gut places them around midfield. That's running back number 25, Justin Carmona.
In the following play, the Pintos continue to feed running back Justin Carmona as he rushes up the field just before being tackled by a Portales defender, number 8, Hagen Rains.
And on the last play of this first half, Moriarty quarterback Brian Wright tosses up a Hail Mary to number 32 running back Eric Wolf as time expires. However, the Rams defense plays this perfectly, coming away with two Ram defenders fighting for the interception. The score at halftime is 6-0, Rams up.
The Rams received the second half kickoff and capitalized quickly. Number 3, Ethan Conroe, cut up the field and down the middle to the end zone for the touchdown, giving the Rams a 13-0 lead just 13 seconds into the third quarter.
On the following kickoff to Moriarty, number 25, Justin Carmona, quickly secures the ball and heads upfield for a short gain before being swarmed by Portales defenders.
On the Rams' following drive, quarterback Baylor Diaz runs a running back pitch option but elects to keep it himself, leading to a gain of about 15 yards.
And on this play by Pintos quarterback Brian Wright, hands off the ball to running back Justin Carmona, who rushes along the sideline before being knocked out of bounds by Portales defenders.
Portales forces another punt. Number 8, Hagen Rains, receives the kick and quickly sprints upfield and stiff arms a defender before a hard hit from the Pintos' own number 8, Brian Wright, making the tackle.
On the ensuing Pinto drive, Malcolm Denome takes the handoff and runs upfield before trucking a Rams defender, who ultimately trips Denome up for the tackle.
It's Denome again in this play. He took the handoff but is quickly surrounded by Ram defenders and was tackled as he had nowhere to go. This ends the third quarter with the Rams leading 13-0.
Beginning the fourth quarter, the Pintos stayed true to their game plan of running the ball as Malcolm Denome is put in motion before the snap and receives the handoff.
The Pintos offense sticking to the run. This time it's number 12, Joshua Montoya, for a short gain up the middle.
With the Rams back in possession of the ball, quarterback Baylor Diaz runs an option play and once again elects to keep it himself to rush up the field for a large gain against a tired Pintos defense.
Diaz once again chooses to run the ball up the sideline, making a nice cut against a defender, but ended up tripping himself after a gain of 35 yards.
And on this play, we see Diaz continue to show off his athletic ability as he scrambles to the end zone and jumps through 2 defenders to score the touchdown, bringing the score to 19-0 in the back end of the fourth quarter.
And the Rams weren't quite done as they attempted a fake field goal in which Diaz was involved in once again. He secured a spot in the end zone, grabbing 2 more points for the hometown Rams, leaving the score at 21-0.
All right, thank you so much for watching High School Spotlight.
That's all the highlights we have for you tonight. Before we throw it back to Doc, make sure to follow our Twitter, Instagram, like our Facebook page, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more photos, updates, and highlights. Once again, I'm Kitana Sapinga.
And I'm Scott Haas, and we'll see you guys next week.
Welcome back to Sportslook. Thanks to Kiki and Scott for that look at the Portales versus Moriarty football game at the Greyhound Stadium. And now we bring to the set of Sportslook a person who calls Greyhound Stadium home, Coach Jeff Cavalunas of track and field. And Coach, welcome back to Sportslook.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate it. Great to be here.
Well, Coach, I was so hoping that I'd get a chance to talk to you during the fall about cross country because your ladies in particular had been just exceptionally good, but as fate would have it, safety said we couldn't do it, and so sadly we didn't have a cross-country season.
It was, it's been challenging. Obviously the ladies, are a pretty strong team, and one of the goals was to compete for a LSC title this last fall, and again, kind of lost out on that opportunity. So. It's been a challenge, some of those girls have lost 3 seasons, with the outdoor track and field and cross country and in our indoor track and field. So they're starting to get pretty excited to finally get back out and compete again here next week. So
I know it's impossible to say, but judging by times that people did run, how do you think your team would have fared if you'd had cross country?
Yeah, the girls would have been up there. They would have competed. I think they would have had a chance for that title. It kind of depends on the day and how they run, but we know we would have at least had a chance. So.
Well, Coach, I'm a historian. I get paid to look at the past, but you've got to put the past in the rearview mirror and look forward. So track and field is getting to compete.
Yeah, we're going. We're going to open up next week at West Texas A&M. Weather permitting now, but we've had the whole group here since mid-January, and they're starting to come around. They're starting to click. It was a little slow start. Many of the kids missed the fall, that preseason training and conditioning. So we've kind of got over the speed bump of some of the minors' aches and pains, with the team after those first 3 weeks or so. And I see many of the athletes really starting to come around, kind of find their form, starting to look good, a little more pop in that step, the strides and the throws. So, they can feel it. We as the coaches are starting to see it. So the excitement's really, rising up, getting ready.
Well, I have nothing but the greatest admiration for your kids because, like you said, they were deprived, and not just a little. They were deprived a lot. And here again, totally understand why. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about the decision, but there has to be a great deal of buy-in on their part to stay plugged in enough to be ready to compete.
Yes, it's been a challenge, and I certainly understand, for some kids that stay motivated, through that summer, through that fall, when they lost that opportunity with cross country, their second time. some have done a great job staying motivated, and others, it's been a struggle. And I certainly understand, that's something we're all struggled with, a little bit here and there. We've kind of lost some opportunities that, we don't have any control over that's coming up. But like I said, the attitudes and been very positive. The excitement's, coming back around. They know now that, hey, we're going to get to compete. It's going to happen. So they're excited.
Well, unfortunately, you did lose some good athletes, but who's coming back that you figure are going to score points for you?
Man, I tell you, the strongest looking athlete we have is Jessica Campbell. Right here from Portales, on the heptathlon. She's worked really, really hard through the summer, through the fall. Developed her hurdles, developed her throws, and is just looking phenomenal right now. I think she has moved herself up from just a scoring position in the conference championships to, I think, possibly compete for a title. And who knows? I mean, maybe get that NCAA qualifying mark. I know that's one of her goals, and she, I think, has moved up and will be on the bubble for that.
Who on the boys' side of the ledger?
We have a young man that's a transfer student at Calvin Kemboy. That's just run really strong. One of our distance runners that we think will compete, for a conference title. A couple new guys actually. Dan Huron. That came in, freshman, actually from South Carolina. His father here is the dean of education, so it was a great find.
Yeah.
Working really hard, so we'll have a couple of guys just really strong in those mid-distance events, 800, 1500.
Well, if you can stay coaching here for at least 4 years, I understand he's got a pretty good system.
Yeah, he does. Yep. Seen the high school kids too.
Start recruiting her right now. But, Coach, have there been any changes in terms of your coaching staff, or is it pretty much the people that have helped you in the past?
Pretty much people that have helped me in the past. Katrina Weir is back. Again, did a phenomenal job. She's been coaching our sprinters and the hurdlers. Just doing a great job developing that group, and again, has just done, phenomenal developing Jessica Campbell on her hurdles. So she's worked really hard. We continue to have Dr. Sievers work with their vaulters. And we have added a new person at part-time this year, Mike Prokop, from right here in Portales. He's coming out working with our throwers. We hope to have him a little more full-time in the future is our goal. But he's just a phenomenal coach himself, and has been able to come out a couple days and help with that throwing staff.
Yeah, a good personal friend of mine, and I was jazzed that he was going to be helping out. Is the schedule from here on going to be pretty much what a normal track and field schedule is?
Yeah, it is looking pretty normal. Like I said, next week we'll open up at West Texas A&M. The following week, we did plan on having our home Greyhound Open Invitational track meet, but unfortunately with just trying to get things figured out late this year. I'm not really sure what we could do, could not do from the governor. We just ran out of time to get organized and be able to have that meet. So we're going to work with Lubbock Christian and host a small meet over there this year on that date. So a little disappointing, but again, there's some things that kind of out of our control, and what we could do here in the state of New Mexico, and that was just kind of a rough one. But we'll be back at it next year. We'll have that home meet going, and we'll look forward to having you out there and be the voice for us on the announcing.
I was just going to say, I'd be happy to audition for that role.
But it'd be pretty similar. We'll head back to West Texas A&M, Texas Tech for a meet, New Mexico Junior College. In the past, we've taken some kids out to Drake relays, but this year, just the way things are going, that probably will not work. But conference championships at West Texas, so outdoors looking pretty good, very, very similar.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for staying the course, for keeping kids plugged in, good success, and better success next year.
Yeah, we're getting there. Thank you.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up the interview segment of Sportslook, so I'll finish up with an overtime right now. As many of you know, my wife Janine passed away Sunday after a lengthy struggle against a myriad of health issues. And I appreciate everybody who has told me they're very sorry for my loss, but I'd like you to rethink how you remember my wife Janine in terms of a struggle. And I'm going to quote the legendary football coach Bud Elliott for my inspiration. A number of years ago, we dropped a really tough contest to Abilene Christian. And after the game, I talked to Bud and tried to console him about the loss. And he said, "Doc, we didn't lose. We just ran out of time." So if you remember my wife, Janine, as I hope you do, you will remember her as somebody who didn't lose at the game of life, but ran out of time. Well, that is going to wrap up an overtime, and that will wrap up an episode of Sportslook. I would like to thank my guests from Greyhound Softball. I'd like to thank Jeff Cavalunas from Greyhound Track and Field. Had a floor crew directed by Mr. Zach. Can't forget Kiki and Scott for the high school spotlight. So for those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.